What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the CultureVerse podcast. Today, we're doing something that we've done once before, but we kind of switch it up a little bit this time, and that is the create a movie game. Last time, I gave each of these three guys a genre, and I gave them a list of actors. They had to create a movie, they had to pitch it to me, and then I gave them, like, I guess you could call awards. I gave them some different, accolades based on their movies. This time, however, Caleb was the one who designated genres and actors, so that way I could have some fun getting on the action as well. So, this whole episode is just going to be reading our ideas, reading what we came up with, and how we use the cast. And Caleb's got some questions and some awards to give in the end. He's got his trusty notebook there to take any notes if needed. And I think, without further ado, I think we're ready.
You know it's a real episode when I pull out the thank you for being awesome notebook.
It is. That is true. Whenever Caleb's got the notebook out, we're serious. It means we're super serious. Caleb, I think it's only fair that you pick the person who goes first since you designated the genres and movies.
Sure. Okay, well, based on before I pick someone, I just want to say my theme or my hope was to give you guys kind of a genre blend of some way, genres that don't always to go together in a way. I know Gabe, yours was probably more generic, but there's only so many categories I can pick from and blend together without getting boring or stupid. Um, so I'm sorry, Gabe, you got the safer pick of them all. Um, Hey, you know what? You'll get your chance when Tyler glazes you and gives you. Nah,
I
just
hope
kidding.
so.
Um, so that was kind of my hope was to give you guys some genre blends and maybe question your thinking and think outside the box a little bit. That was my. I tried. Okay. With that being said, I'm picking Jack.
Uh,
Jack, if you could you read the genre and the cast before you begin? I think we should all do that and then go from there.
I'm going to structure this similarly to the way I did it last time. Tyler,
I'm
no,
sorry.
it is way too early in the pitch to be laughing. There's plenty of time for that later. Um, I kind of went through my cast and explained who my characters were a little bit because I think that's one of the more important things about this pitch rather than diving into every little detail about the plot. Um, my genres were mystery and fantasy. That's what we're dealing with today. And I'm actually going to start right at the very top. The working title for this movie is called Libertalia, which I'll explain what that means in a minute. But it's actually inspired by a mixture of the Pirates of the Caribbean franchise, the Indiana Jones franchise, Uncharted, and Assassin's Creed Black Flag. Um, Moving on, the first of my cast members that I received was Josh Brolin, and he will, of course, be playing our main character. He is actually, this is where we kind of get a little interesting because I went into my little historical research phase, and he basically was an archaeologist before archaeology was really like a respected profession. And so he basically didn't make any money doing it. He ended up becoming a privateer in the early 1700s and going over into the, you know, Caribbean type stuff. But good grief, where'd I gotta even go from here? So he basically became a privateer over there so that he could have more freedom, explore the world, but actually make a living. However, he's kind of seen as a little bit, cuckoo by other pirates because he had a passion for like the world and history, whereas most pirates are there for riches and whatnot. I just thought this would be somewhat fun because Josh Brolin is typically casted in normally like villainous or menacing roles, and this allows him to be a little more. He can still be serious, but it's a little more protagonisty for me. We also had James Marsden, and for me, he is playing an English sailor who was actually commissioned to be a pirate hunter by the English. However, I have like a ton of lore on these characters, but I'm not gonna go into all that. Basically, his crew was like ambushed and destroyed, and he wanted help with it and didn't receive it, so he ended up turning on the crown and is now in the same crew with Josh Brolin as captain. Um, one of the only actors I added to Caleb's list because I hate him was, and I already told Gabe, I said, you can say someone else plays this role, but this is going to be a role in this film. And I casted it as Will Poulter, but it's basically a young man who wants to be a pirate, but since we're kind of past the age of piracy at the point of this story, he essentially is faced with the reality that it's a dying world. And so instead, over the course of the film, his passions are kind of going to turn from that into more of the adventure type that Josh Brolin wants to be. He's essentially his protege, so I can make 7 movies in the franchise. We've also got Paul Rudd and Rose Byrne. I categorize them together because I actually have them playing a couple in this movie. They're basically a merchant couple from the American colonies. I'm not going to go too far into them. Uh, Monica Barbero is another actress I had. She's a part of Josh Brolin, James Marsden, and Will Poulter's crew. And then the last character I added, and the last of our characters we're going to talk about, is Patrick Wilson. And I had him playing a basically rival pirate, but he never gave up on piracy, so he's still active even though it's past the age of piracy. Okay, great. We're going to move on from that. So, as I may have alluded to, this is after the age of piracy, so anyone who's worried about like dates and stuff, this is in like the 1740s for me. But I will go ahead and just try and like jump around my story so that I don't read you the entire lore and plot line of it. And then I'll open up for questions afterwards at the end. And so the movie would start out basically with a flashback in the year 1718, which is um in the middle of the golden age of piracy. And it would be a young sailor witnessing a pirate raid on the city of Nassau. And he basically was going to try. What is your problem? I'm going to ignore him actually. He basically was looking to join the fight and help out in the township, but he watches Blackbeard, who I didn't cast anybody to play him, but you could really do whatever you want to do. He watches the Blackbeard take on and kill 3 soldiers in front of him, and he basically goes back in hiding. But once he recollects himself to go outside, he bursts outside to find nothing there, and that's all you get for your opening. The bodies are gone, nothing's there at all. And then we cut 30 years later, 30 years, 1748, 3-0, Tyler. So this is well after the age of piracy. It's basically been shut down. Most pirates are dead or retired or turned to the crown side. And so then we start in on Josh Brolin, who's basically a pirate who's well beyond his prime, essentially, since he'd be in his mid 50s or 60s, which is kind of insane for a pirate, actually. He would be living in retirement alongside many other pirates in a pirate utopia known as Libertalia, which is what they actually, I believe, called a real pirate utopia. And I think that was in Madagascar, but I'm putting mine in the middle Caribbean because I don't care. And so most of the older pirates, they're there. They're obviously retired. Piracy is pretty much dead, so they're just drinking away their days. Josh Brolin's different, man. Since he had his passion for archaeology, he's basically spent his retirement collecting artifacts and treasures from the other pirates, basically trying to record the history of what was there. He essentially has an unhealthy obsession with former pirates like Blackbeard. Once again, kind of a social outcast for that because everyone else is just kind of a Neanderthal that likes to drink and fight and be a pirate. He recently like came across a I don't even know what he's laughing at. He most recently came across an actual letter written by Blackbeard. He bartered it off of another pirate he found, probably freaking drinking in the bar. I don't care where he's from, but he got that, and so he's obsessed with looking into this. James Marsden, his first mate. I'm not going to call them by their names. Made up for them because then no one will know who I'm talking about. But he wants to basically pursue this letter. He wants to find out what it's about. First mate's not happy with it because the little crew that they even have left, they're basically running out of money because no one does anything there, because they're all basically in hiding. However, He basically figured, or Brolin basically puts together the fact that Blackbeard would have had to have had a stash of pretty much everything he's ever taken, and convinces he is obviously trying to convince them because he has his own passion and obsession with the history of Blackbeard and whatnot. But he convinces his first mate as well as uh, Monica Barbero, because she's also in the crew, that they could basically find it and with the riches go to America and start new lives and not have to be in hiding. They could basically do it and restart. Um, However, they know that the the sea around them is basically infested with English and Spanish ships at this point because there's not much more for piracy, so it's a lot of trade and whatnot. Although there is like that lingering pirate that I mentioned, the Patrick Wilson pirate. His name's Roberts, by the way, but he's out there as well. So they know that they're going to need basically a bigger crew, more resources, stuff like that. They also realized, or they also tracked down the man that gave Brolin the letter, and they want to find more about it so that they can get a precise location. And so they go back to it's actually the Great Inagua, but you guys don't know where that island is. It's another island that they're going to go to basically recruit new people. That's where they find Will Poulter, the wannabe, the optimist. They're going to get him as well as a couple other no-name people that I don't care about. Um, so they actually track down the original owner of that letter, and it's actually an old retired man who's revealed to be Benjamin Hornigold. You guys may not know who that is. Also, that was another pirate that worked with Blackbeard in real life. They presumed he was dead, but apparently he escaped and cut a deal with the British, so he actually lived into retirement as well. He reveals that Blackbeard spoke of a secret hideout and never trusted him enough to show him where he was, probably because he turned on him. But he says he received several letters over the years from Blackbeard, but that they made no sense, so he gives them up to our local historian here, Mr. Brolin. And basically, Will Poulter and Josh Brolin's characters both share a sense of adventure, so they've kind of bonded over that. They dig through the letters. They're encouraged by the mention of Bermuda. I know you guys know what that is. Um, but they're kind of just, it's another island. They are kind of disturbed by mentions of monsters and other warnings that are mentioned in the letters. They also see names like Henry Avery mentioned, who's like one of the oldest legendary pirates. And they deduce that that Avery may have shared secrets and treasure with Blackbeard. Encouraged by the prospect of that island having like basically generations worth of loot on it, they set back out to sea only to be attacked by Roberts, by Patrick Wilson. Before they can even get out of the Bahamas, they're not even in the Bermuda Triangle yet. They're still in the Caribbean and they get attacked. Roberts kills several members of their crew and forces a surrender, but he recognizes Cook as the historian, mocks him for not being a real pirate, but doesn't kill him, realizing that he wouldn't be out on the water without good reason. And it's because Roberts may be violent and still be a pirate, but he's also pretty smart. He's a little bit unstable, but he's smart. Okay. He realized that Brolin wouldn't be out there without a good reason, so he finds the letters, burns the ship after having killed several of the crew members, and intends to sail to Bermuda and claim it for himself. Will Poulter attempts to dissuade him by warning him of the monsters, but he dismisses his claims and goes anyway. They seem out of the game with Annie, which Annie is Monica Barbero. My bad. I'm not going to use their names. She's the most upset because Patrick Wilson actually killed her parents when she was a young girl, which is why she's in the crew in the first place, because Josh Brolin essentially took her in and is basically a father figure for her. But they're all down in the dumps, they're pissed. The remaining crew is, however, rescued and taken aboard by an American merchant who was played by Paul Rudd and his wife. Um, Good grief, Rose Byrne as well. Those two also apparently have heard about the treasure because rumors have been spreading about it, and they commissioned a ship and crew from the colonies to find the treasure and bring it back because the colonies need to finance a war against the British. So they want the wealth for themselves as well. The crews decide to join together anyway in common interest and sail across the Bermuda Triangle. They encounter several strange occurrences before discovering a shipwreck of one of Robert's three ships. They are then confronted by a sea serpent that, after James Marsden decapitates it, is revealed to be basically a Hydra type monster. They ultimately use their cannons to destroy it. That could be a longer fight. Go into it. Not going to go into it. They're going to find other monsters along the way here. It's the freaking Bermuda Triangle. That's how it works. We've seen Percy Jackson. Anyway, Tyler, don't shake your head at me. Meanwhile, we'll cut to Roberts and his crew of Expendables so that I can kill them violently on the screen. They're going to get attacked by more monsters at sea. One of his ships is entirely destroyed, and the last ship loses most of its crew before seemingly going down and abruptly crashing into cliffside. Then we cut back away from them as the crew will finish their voyage across Bermuda Triangle, eventually catching Roberts in Bermuda, but finding his ship is empty, mostly destroyed. They split up to search the island and leave the rest of the crew aboard the ship. And Paul Rudd and Rose Byrne go missing. They can't find them on the island. But Josh Brolin, James Marsden, Will Poulter, and Monica Barbero find evidence of habitation and go deeper into the island, where they find a strange ancient temple full of traps. They approach. This is where it gets Assassin's Creed Black Flag, by the way, people. They continue to approach the entrance. However, Roberts is revealed to be alive as the lone member of his crew that survived. He takes Monica Barbero hostage and forces them to surrender once again. Roberts, still being curious and an intelligent man, takes Josh Brolin and Monica Barbero down to the entrance, just the three of them, and together they piece out the clues from Blackbeard's writings to figure out the way inside the temple. With those three now going inside the open temple, as well, and they're now accompanied by James Marsden and Will Poulter. They all go in there. They find incredible historical findings, mounds of treasure. It's literally decades and decades worth of piracy. The center of the temple lies a black blade, cursed, if you will. Roberts is infatuated with the sword because he was, in fact, the young man at the beginning of the movie that witnessed Blackbeard killed the three men with it. As we revisit that flashback, he explains that when he saw it, he knew the power that it held because those three men, after being stabbed, got back up and left as their bodies were not there. He gloats that he's going to be made immortal by the sword and falls deeper into his madness. However, he is then stabbed and killed before he can use the sword by Paul Rudd, the merchant. Kills him. Mary appears as well alongside the rest of their crew, and they reveal that they've killed the remainder of Josh Brolin's crew, aside from those four, and that the four of them are all that's left between them and all the riches on the island. And despite the wealth, they also reveal that the thing that they most want is the sword because they are part of a group known as the Old World Order. And that their knowledge of the treasure was not a rumor, and that them stumbling upon them and saving them was not a coincidence, as they used them to find the treasure and now have turned on them. They explain that the Order will use the wealth from the island to enrich the colony so that they can go to war. I'm good on 4 minutes. I got this. They are going to enrich the colony so that they can go to war with the British and will continue to grow that conflict in hopes of starting the First World War. That's what their order is hoping for. They are agents of this order. They are not the leaders of the order, but they're agents of it. The order is feeding on this war and suffering and aims to use the instability to gain control and influence. They leave behind the four pirates, but not before Paul Rudd and Rose Byrne kill two of their own crew members who accept it willingly as part of the cause. Paul Rudd then stabs both dead members as well as Roberts with the cursed blade. All three of them come back to life as zombified creatures. James Marsden immediately charges and attacks the zombified Roberts, but Roberts gets stabbed by the sword and it doesn't faze him. Marsden is then stabbed with his own sword and thrown to the side. As Josh Brolin, Monica Barbero, and Will Poulter all have to fight the three zombified pirates, they manage to take two of them out using the traps in the unstable temple architecture, and Josh Brolin tragically, sadly, must sacrifice himself to save his, in quote, adopted daughter, Monica Barbero. Will Poulter and Monica fight off and kill Roberts before finding that James Marsden is actually still alive. And the three of them He was just stabbed. It was just in the stomach. He's fine. The three of them pursue Paul Rudd and Rose Byrne. The temple crumbles behind them as they escape and stow away on the ship. This is my last paragraph. On board the ship, the trio discover more of the Order's plans and determine that the two must not reach the colonies no matter what, no matter the cost. James and Annie, which is Will Poulter and Monica Barbero, not sure why I mentioned that now, but they distract the crew and Mary by making them think that they're under attack by more of the monsters from the sea. And while that's happening, James Marsden ambushes frickin' Paul Rudd in the captain's quarters and kills him. And what they do to get off the ship is he then uses the curse blade on Paul Rudd and turns him into a zombified version of himself and sets him on the rest of the crew and his wife. The trio then rig the ship to explode amidst the chaos and get a lifeboat and get the hell out of there. Bam, they saved it. And we're making 4 more movies after that. You're welcome.
Money.
Kaboom.
Rest in peace, Paul Rudd. He got hit by a bazooka.
Yeah, that was one of the artifacts actually, is a bazooka. It's just a freaking RPG.
Okay,
So
so
yeah, there it is. Any questions, folks?
so last time I think what we did was you
Yeah,
guys,
see, I thought.
the
No
audience
notes.
said something, and then do you want me to save my reaction to all of yours at the end, and I'll like read off my
That's
opinions at
fine.
the end?
That's fine.
Okay. So I guess
Can
if
I
you
get
guys,
my
if,
biggest
what?
can I get my biggest yapper award that I proposed before the show?
Sure.
I think I deserve
Gabe and Tyler, do you have anything to add, or things you liked or things you didn't like? I know we did that last time. Like,
To be completely honest with you, and this is on me. This is not on Jack.
He lost
I
it.
Yeah, I
He
lost
lost the
him.
plot.
He lost me, and
He lost the
it's not
plot.
his fault at all. It's 100% on me.
I just didn't like any of it. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
There's nothing there.
That
Never
was the
write
most
again, buddy.
that was the most Jack story I've ever heard. It's pirates mixed with Indiana Jones mixed with Uncharted. It's the
I literally
big
took
three.
direct inspiration
Yeah.
from all 4 of those things.
Because
I named
That-
3 things.
Oh, Assassin's Creed
What
as
was
well,
the?
my bad.
Oh yes, Assassin's Creed. I forgot.
That was my biggest concern is if I had more time and creative visioned people, we could do more to differentiate it
had
from
a whole
those
week,
projects.
bud.
No, I mean like talented people. Like if I could confer with the rest of the squad on this, if we made this a movie between the 4 of us, you guys could save it.
No, it was good. It was just very Jack. I could.
Yeah.
You could have like read me 15 stories, and if this was one of them, I'd be like, that one was Jack. Yeah, it's just very Jack, but it's good.
Hey.
I like your historical knowledge. I like the details. I like the
Yeah.
lore of actually like doing your research and not just being like, well, because you could have easily just been like, this takes place in the 1700s, but I understand you have a magazine.
I was
did your
picking specific
lore,
like
yeah.
islands based off geography and
You did
looking
your
at
lore dive
pirate
and you used
timelines.
actual pirates that existed and you used actual places, and that was interesting. So those are all good.
No one can say I chat GPT'd that shit. That was
That's
an
true.
original human thought.
now you know what I
Any of us-
actually did? I actually, when I gave you your genres and your actors, I typed it in just to see what it came up with. So I typed in like your genre plus
You
these
use
actors.
AI?
I just wanted to see what the prototypical
Sinner.
like what it
Plot
would have
would be.
been, what it would like the example it gave me. It was
Yeah.
kind of
Go ahead.
interesting.
What'd the clanker say?
I'll talk about that at the end, so I can kind of give you
Okay.
what it gave you for examples. But I'm gonna go to Gabe next.
Yeah, you guys
Okay.
need to get your reps in.
All right, my working title is Faces. The genre is action/drama, which concerned me when I first got it, as those are not calling out Caleb, those are the 2 most generic genres of all time. Every Netflix action movie of all time is an action drama, so I was a little concerned, but I think I found a way to change things. So my cast was Glenn Powell, Kit Harington, Anne Hathaway, Colin Firth, and Millie Alcock, and that's what I worked with. So I'm gonna read. I'll tell you the character when they're. Yeah, okay. I'm gonna give you a log line first. You know what a log line is? It's pretty
I
much just
don't actually.
the
Go
summary
ahead.
it's like when you go to watch a movie and they give you like the summary. It's like a paragraph.
Oh, sure.
Okay.
Like
Like
a
at the
little
beginning of
synopsis.
Superman.
No.
No, it's like
Not
a
that.
premise.
He means like when you're on
When you
Netflix.
click on the movie and
Yeah,
it's
when
like
you're on
before you hit
Netflix and you
play.
click on it.
Okay. Once I get to the plot, I'll tell you. I'm gonna say characters' names here, but once I get to the actual plot, I'll tell you which actor is playing which character.
Quick question before you start.
Yes.
Did you add any new actors?
No, I did not.
Okay,
Yeah, I
Okay.
cheated. You can take off points
that's
for that.
fine.
Logline. Simon Lee, a detective from a fictional city known as Raynor in the year 2018, has been covering murder cases for his first 10 years in the force. Raynor is known as a dark city that has suffered from intense crime for decades. Many detectives call Raynor the City of Agony due to the effect it has on the police force, but Simon chooses to work here regardless. He deflects mostly everything when it comes to emotions, but in reality, the work has begun to take a toll on him. He seeks help from his younger brother, Pierce, whom he hasn't had much connection with since they were in college. As Simon is put on a case of gruesome murders, he seeks out a therapist in his free time after Pierce suggested he do so. Simon must deal with the intensity and darkness at work, and at home, he's faced with a potentially more difficult challenge, confronting his past with his therapist, Dr. Kinsley, a warm hearted woman who's dealt with all sorts of patients, but none like Simon. All right, plot. We're introduced to Simon Lee, Glenn Powell, a detective who was once young and spunky but has become exhausted and lost within his work. Despite not even being 40 years old, we can see the toll this career has taken on him. He's become hardened, and we see that as the film opens with him knocking on a door to a family's household as they open the door and he tells them that their son was murdered. We follow him home to his single bedroom apartment, showing this sense of intentional isolation. He is alone, but he chooses to be. He's afraid of commitment and attachment because of the reality of his job. There are photos within his apartment that show how successful he'd been before his career. He was at the top of his graduating class in college, and newspaper headlines hung on the walls talking about how the police force got one of the most promising young detectives of the last decade. The man in the photos looks nothing like Simon does now. A scar stretches across the right side of his neck. The life has been drained from his eyes, and what was once a young man ready to take on the world has now become a traumatized, soulless individual. Simon sees an old family photo, specifically noticing two young boys. One of the two is Simon, and the other looks similar to him but with darker hair. Reluctantly, Simon picks up his phone and makes a call to his brother Pierce, which is Kit Harrington, who feels extremely cold and awkward, but the conversation ends with them agreeing to meet up soon. Eventually, the two meet at a diner, and Simon confesses to his brother that he is unwell. For the first time, we see him display something other than a blank expression as he begins to break down. Simon and Pierce go back to Simon's apartment and talk about his mental health. He explains that the job has taken a dark toll on him. He can't sleep at night, he's seeing things that aren't there at times, and he's started to bury himself deep in his cases despite hating how he feels about them. They lightly discuss how they haven't spoken in years, but they never mention why. Instead, Pierce embraces Simon and tells him he will be here for him for now. Before leaving, he tells Simon he should try getting a therapist as it helped Pierce out when he was going through trauma when he was younger. Doing what his brother said, Simon finds a therapist, Dr. Kinsley, Anne Hathaway, who has some of the highest reviews in the entire city. She's a warm presence to Simon, and we can instantly tell that he feels calm speaking with her. The first session is mostly just introducing the new relationship between them, as Simon doesn't get into much other than just telling her his job and that he's in the 11th year with the Force. He goes to work the next day and is given another case, but a much darker case than normal. There's been an ongoing chain of murders, each one more gruesome than the one before, and he's been named the lead detective. He reluctantly accepts it, as he really doesn't have much of a choice. He needs the money and feels the need to solve the crime. This string of murders has been something Simon's followed on his own for months now, assuming that eventually he'd get the case, but dreading it equally. He returns to the therapist the next day, unannounced, and Dr. Kinsley initially turns him away as he doesn't have an appointment, but after seeing the dread in his eyes, she lets him in. He tells her of the new case he's been assigned, and she sits down and begins asking him about his childhood. Simon, upset that she's ignored what he said, begins to rant about how he knew therapy was a waste of time, and he storms out, and Dr. Kinley rests her head in her hands, knowing that Simon is extremely troubled. Simon begins his case later in the week and is instantly thrown into the intensity of it all with a man who was murdered gruesomely with a fireplace iron. The man who had been murdered was found dead in his home, the iron coming from his own fireplace, but the crime scene showed few signs of struggle. It seemed as though the man had been murdered without much of a fight. He had been essentially gutted with the iron, and half of his body had severe burns on it. The lack of a struggle makes it seem as though he was either unconscious or deceased before being burned and cut open. It was awful. Simon winced constantly as he surveyed the room. This was one of the worst cases he dealt with, and it wasn't just the murder. This had been done with a sense of accomplishment, Simon could tell. It was so over the top that it clearly had been enjoyed by the murderer. Sick to his stomach, Simon left after getting what he needed and returned home. Pierce came over for dinner as Simon told him about the case and his therapist. They argued for a bit about Simon walking out earlier, but ultimately they discussed more about the case. After having to relive it all, explaining to Pierce, Simon asks if he can leave as he wants to get some sleep. Pierce reluctantly leaves, despite wanting to hear more, and Simon is left alone. He wakes up the next morning, and before heading to work, he notices his door is unlocked. In a fit of panic, he begins searching every inch of his apartment. After finding nothing, he is uneasy for the rest of the day, but he heads to work. After just a day of paperwork and researching off the scene, he heads back to therapy to apologize to Dr. Kinsley after everything. She understands, and they have a genuine session where he begins discussing the childhood. Simon and Pierce grew up without a mother, as she left their father when the boys were young. Their father, Michael, which was Colin Firth, was extremely hard on them. He taught them lessons and provided them with food and shelter, but he'd often drink heavily and became physical towards both of them. Their mother would often return for months at a time, where then she would act as if she loved them, but in reality, it would just be to steal money and leave once again. Their father repeatedly fell for it as he'd become a desperate shell of a man. Simon hated him with a passion and could remember stepping in often when he tried to hit Pierce. Almost weekly, Simon would get beaten bloody, and Pierce too would receive several bruises. Simon stopped speaking to Dr. Kinsley. There was more he clearly wanted to say, but he chose to be done for the day, as Dr. Kinsley felt satisfied with the progress but wanted to break down more. As the film goes on, we see Simon deal with more gruesome murders by the suspect, each one affecting him worse than the last. Each murderer having used an item from the house of the person murdered, each one showing signs of pleasure. In between the cases as well, sessions between Simon and Dr. Kinsley, it is eventually revealed that Simon and Pierce had a sister named Miranda, which is played by Millie Alcock, who passed away tragically when they were in college, which was what led Simon and Pierce to parting ways. Miranda, who has been shown through many flashbacks at this point as the loving, genuine person who kept Simon and Pierce from becoming dark and aggressive people. Miranda was never beaten by their father, as both Simon and Pierce would actually fight Michael if he tried to touch Miranda. She was the light in both of their lives as they did everything they could to protect her, but her sudden death was, in fact, a murder that was never solved. This is what directly led Simon to wanting to become a detective as he desperately needed to solve her murder. All of this show is shown across multiple sessions with Dr. Kinsley as she slowly becomes uncomfortable about how dark Simon's past is and how his current job is just throwing him deeper into it. Simon and Pierce continue to meet over this time, but less frequently, as Simon is always busy with his job, therapy, and struggling to function in his little free time. We can see Simon becoming more and more uncomfortable with his life and his job despite sharing so much. Therapy is helping in the sense of getting things off his chest, but the cases that he's on continues to dig him into a deeper hole. After weeks have passed, Simon finally begins putting things together and figuring out more about the murders. Simon begins having terrible headaches and nightmares of the murder cases he's discovered. He begins to realize that he's shown clear symptoms of what could be multiple personality disorder, which is revealed to the audience from the perspective of Dr. Kinsley, who has figured this out and is trying to contact him to officially diagnose him with multiple personality disorder and severe PTSD. He starts to panic as he realizes that his nightmares have been shockingly realistic to the actual cases, showing him bits and pieces of the actual murders. He frantically grabs his phone to call Pierce. The phone rings and rings, but soon is cut off with a message. This number is no longer in service. Simon gets extremely anxious and grabs his car keys and drives to Pierce's apartment. He ends up breaking into an apartment as he thinks it's Pierce, but instead there's an elderly woman sitting in a chair. Suddenly his phone starts to ring. Simon answers it quickly. "Pierce, are you alright? Did you get evicted?" Instead, it is Dr. Kinsley on the other end. She asks if Simon is okay and mentions that she's worried. She asks if they can meet, but Simon is too shaken up and says no. She tries to argue with him until finally shouting over his panicking comments. The tension rises as she begins to ask him about Pierce. Have you ever actually been to Pierce's apartment? Have you only met with him alone or with anyone else? Do you actually know what his job is? Where has he been for years? All these questions start hitting Simon hard as he falls down in the hallway. Finally, she delivers the final blow. Simon, I believe your brother Pierce was murdered 3 years ago. They never solved the case, but it was all over the news. It is now revealed that Pierce has been nothing but a figment of Simon's imagination the entire story. Simon, I don't know how to say this to you, but based on what you've told me, you have shown severe signs of multiple personality disorder as well as PTSD. Simon, can I ask you a question? Did you murder Pierce? We are now switching perspectives as we're seeing it from Dr. Kinsley's perspective. It is silent on the other end of the phone call. Simon's heavy breathing has suddenly stopped and his frantic panicking has quieted. He responds in a very serious and grungy voice. He didn't give me a choice. He figured out the truth. He knew too much. We see Dr. Kinsley become very scared as she asks him what he means. Silence for a few seconds until he responds. I told him to let it go. I told him to stop following the trail, but he couldn't. He refused to stop. He sounded like he was holding back a sob for a moment, but quickly focused back in. Doctor, have you heard the story of Icarus? He was the son of Daedalus, who was a very intelligent inventor from ancient Greece, and they were both trapped on an island known as Crete. Daedalus worked tirelessly to escape this island for himself and his son, and one day he successfully invented something. He formed two pairs of wings made from wax and feathers and explained to Icarus that they could escape with this, but he must follow one rule. Do not fly too close to the sun, for the heat will melt the wax and they'd perish. Icarus nodded, but he couldn't help himself. Once they began flying, he just had to go closer. He just had to feel the warmth of the sun. He played around with something he shouldn't. Simon's voice got angrier. But there is something about the story that is always left out. Did you know that Daedalus had another son, Doctor? He had a second son named Lapix, a skilled healer who had worked for the greater good. But Lapix is never mentioned. Lapix wasn't mentioned by his genius father, who in reality was nothing short of a failure. A father who led both of his sons down the wrong path. A father who threatened his kids so much that Lapix could have been pushed to stepping in. She wasn't going to be safe, Doctor. He was going to do horrible things to her. Dr. Kinley becomes mortified. Who is she, Simon? Simon took a deep breath. I had to protect Miranda. She wasn't going to be safe in this world, so I protected her, and Pierce found out. He flew too close to the sun, and Lapix had to step in. It is now revealed that Dr. Kinsley has been recording this entire conversation, and mortified, she quickly hangs up and dials 911. We cut back to Simon, who's laying against the wall in the apartment building. He looks tired with rings around his eyes and his arms lying lifelessly by his side. He's unaware if he is himself or if his other personality or which one is considered to be himself. He reaches for his phone and calls the police, turning himself in for what the string of murders has now been revealed to have been himself. He's covered with tears that have now been running down his face, showing us that he is back to what is considered himself. We cut to several months into the future as Simon is now at a treatment facility and is having frequent sessions with Dr. Kinsley, who visits. Simon is doing better but struggles with his PTSD and the occasional episode of multiple personalities. He talks about how he's begun finding peace with it, and being away from the job has helped him severely. However, knowing the truth has taken a toll on him, making him feel like he needs to be punished as he remains in this facility. He continues to build a stronger relationship with Dr. Kinsley, but there is always a sense of discomfort, and the final shot of the film is given a look at Simon's face that looks slightly unhinged. There you go. Thank you. Thank you.
Bro. Tyler, just come on, bro.
Yeah, you cooked.
Thank you.
Yep, comments from Jack and Tyler.
This isn't fair.
I'm thinking. This dude, actually, this is not like a criticism, by the way. This dude, this son of a bitch, managed to make this a mythology story in a good way.
Oh,
Like you use
I just
the
mentioned
mythology story.
Icarus.
Yeah, no, I just
Yeah.
mean like it like reflects a mythology story. Like that, like you said about me, that's a very, very, very Gabe thing to do.
Yeah.
But it works
So for
very
clarification,
well.
it gets revealed that he killed his sister
And his
Okay.
brother.
And his brother. Yeah. Okay.
He killed both of them because he's insane. The police force wildly incompetent, by the way.
Either that or Glenn Powell is wildly competent at
He's
having a
or he's
personality that hides it.
frighteningly
So we got a mix of American Psycho and
That
Seven.
does feel like
I thought of literally, I
Fight
had
Club.
zero inspirations for this.
I was getting
Sure.
7 Silence of the Lambs.
Sure. I didn't think
the personality thing reminded me of Moon Knight.
Okay, you know what? I also at one point was like, this kind of feels Moon Knight-y.
It felt a little Moon Knighty.
I also remember thinking that at one point.
I would agree with Tyler's assessment of it. Kind of reminds me of American Psycho a little bit, and then it reminds me of
that's
Moon
fair.
Knight.
It's more clear than American Psycho. You get an answer.
Yeah,
You're not
yeah,
left
it
to
was-
think,
an
is it
answer.
all real?
It was also giving me some Memento vibes.
I haven't
Mm,
seen that.
that's fair. Memento's a lot more creative
That's
than
the
that.
one with Guy Pearce or with Kevin Bacon.
Guy Pearce.
Yes.
Aldrich Killian
Um,
from Iron Man 3.
What else was I going to say? I'm expecting a lot out of Glenn Powell for this role.
Yeah, I kind of forgot that was him.
He's gonna have to
He's
cook.
gonna
That
have
would
to
be-
cook. Yeah.
Well, I have more
A
faith in
lot
him
of it
than
would
Kit
rely on
Harington,
him.
unfortunately.
No, I agree. I totally agree with you.
I like Kit, but Glenn's gonna have to cook.
I mean, that could be the type of role that Glenn Powell needs.
That's
to
kind
take
of what
the
I
next
was
step,
thinking. Is this could be his
because
breakout role?
He needs a dramatic role to get him. To the
It
next
shows
step,
he's not
'cause
just a fun action guy.
he does action blockbusters and
Yeah.
nothing else right now.
Yep.
Or
So Jack, are
rom-coms
you
that
are
suck.
you still the killer in this movie, or
Yeah, Jack, I'm
Yes.
actually casting you in a role.
No, I was gonna say
you're
I
the-
actually
you're,
could do
uh,
this.
you're the person that got killed by the fireplace iron.
Hey, bro, for reference, I commented during Gabe's pitch and said I might be the killer in this movie, and then
this was at like the
Ty-
very beginning too?
I was at the very. It was literally like right after you said he takes pleasure in the killing.
Okay. All right.
I was just messing around.
Okay.
I was just playing.
Just
But
joking.
apparently, I'm getting cast as a victim, not the killer. So that's good. That's okay. Glenn Powell can murder me.
Okay.
Well, in on the
Tyler, let's
screen,
go ahead, man.
Yeah. Okay.
not like actually.
All
He can
right.
pretend
So
to.
Caleb gave me the honor of a pretty good lineup, frankly.
Mhm.
Do you have a title?
I do not.
That's
Okay.
okay.
Untitled.
Yep.
That's the
Untitled.
title.
And what's your genres?
Sci-fi horror.
Dude's the teacher in the back of the classroom.
Pretty much.
All right. And the 5 actors and actresses he gave me were Caleb McLaughlin, Christian Bale, John Hamm, Margaret Qualley, and
Quality.
Emily Blunt. Qualley, whatever.
Minus 1 point.
Damn it. All right. Everyone ready? Caleb? More like Caleb.
Did you add any new
No.
actor? Okay.
So before I start reading everything, Caleb McLaughlin, not Christian Bale, Caleb McLaughlin, John Hamm, Margaret Qualley, and Emily Blunt are 4 astronauts, and Christian Bale is playing the villain in this movie. So, I didn't give them names because if I were to give them names, I think it would just been like I would just be going back and forth to saying this is Caleb McLaughlin, this is Emily Blunt. So I just kept them as their names.
You do what I did and confuse yourself while you're reading the plot.
Yeah.
I see your vision.
When I wrote it, I wrote their names in parentheses because I was going to go back
Yeah.
and get the name, but I was like, no, it's going to be better when I read like this. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Let's do this thing.
The year is 2183. The Earth's resources are almost depleted. The world has a population control of 1 child per family. Earth sends 4 astronauts to the planet Gliese, which is actually a real planet. Everyone but Bale.
Good
is
research.
An astronaut. A planet with similar qualities to Earth, in hopes of it becoming their next home. When they show up, it is the daytime, which only lasts 4 hours on this planet. They see that Gliese is also almost a 1-to-1 replica to Earth in terms of geography, oxygen levels, water, animals, you name it. Except for nighttime, which they do not know at this point. All is good. They start collecting their samples and their data necessary for the trip back, but by this point, the sun is going down at an alarming speed. They notice this and set up camp for the night. John Hamm's character checks his watch. 1:04 p.m. it reads. As they are sleeping, Caleb McLaughlin's character rolls over and opens his eyes, expecting to see Margaret Qualley's character, but not in her place. He sees Christian Bale, although the way I designed him was similar to if you want to take a look up early designs of Gore.
Oh yeah.
Love and Thunder. That's kind of what I envision when I think of this character. So when he rolls over, he sees Christian Bale smiling at him. Hello, he says.
Not cool.
As Caleb jumps up, waking everyone. What are you doing? Bale asks. No one says anything as Bale gets up and walks towards them, studying them and touching them with the long tentacles that are coming out of the back of his head. Then Emily finally says something. Who are you? He answers with his name, which I did not give him a name, as I realized that. He says, I am the father of this world, and I have never seen anything like you before. Why are you here? Blunt responds, our planet is deteriorating, and this was the closest thing to what our world was like. So we are seeing if this place is habitable for us. Caleb points over. Where's Margaret? Bale responds, oh, her? Don't worry. My children are taking care of her. They all look at each other and back at him, where we see the movie type smile that Bale gives off. Bye-bye now, he says as he slowly backs up into the forest away from the fire. At this point,
The end. Sorry.
Yep, that's it. That's the movie.
That'd be diabolical. No, keep cooking.
At this point, they're obviously scared. They are debating whether or not to leave or go and get Margaret. Caleb wants to go get Margaret, but John and Emily do not. Both of them say fuck it and pack up and head for the ship, both as in John and Emily. They get on the ship and attempt to get everything ready for liftoff, but nothing is turning on. Heat, light from the sun powers this world. Everything around them is dead, from trees, animals, plants, all of it. Darkness kills everything on this planet. Caleb is still by the fire, contemplating what to do. Emily and John begin feeling weak and tired. They look down and see that their hands are shriveling up. They start panicking. They rush outside to get to Caleb. When Caleb sees them, he is initially scared and shocked as he sees them all old. But as they get closer, they begin to return to their true form. They begin to test this, walking away from the fire, putting the fire next to plants and whatnot. They figure out they won't survive without the fire, because as they put the fire next to plants, the plants start to grow back to life almost instantly. They begin to pile up as much flammable stuff as they can, and they decide to go and find Margaret. At this point, they walk through the forest, each of them holding their own torch. Visually, you can't see much of anything until the flame catches it, but you can hear laughter echoing through the forest, footsteps running around like little kids. They tread along, and then up ahead, they see a group of like 15 what looks to be little kids standing in front of them, smiling, similar to how their father smiled. They stand frozen in fear as the children slowly approach in unison. Eventually, they start chasing them, and they capture Caleb, and they see him getting dragged away. Yeah, Caleb, you're fucked. Sorry.
I shouldn't have given you a character named Caleb. It keeps catching me off guard.
So they follow him into this cave with several tunnels that all lead to the center of the planet. When they get there, they see Caleb and Margaret. Margaret, who has been there a while, is seen strung up by this alien-like goo, upside down and without her skin. Next to her, we see Caleb, who is in the process of his skin being eaten off by the children. John and Emily rush over to Caleb to help, but they are cut off by Bale. The screen goes dark.
Literally or metaphorically?
Literally.
They're literally cut off?
Yep, that's it. That's the movie. We open our eyes to the POV of Emily. She looks over and sees Caleb and Margaret are dead, and John is in the process of being eaten alive. She looks forward and sees Bale standing there and smiling, and he goes, "I'd like to thank you. My children haven't had this much fun since, well, forever. But you are for me." We see him slowly approach her, and when he gets close enough, the screen goes black, and all you hear is the screams of Emily. Then we see the sun come up. Everything is coming back to life. The plants, trees, animals. The ship turns on, and you hear over the speakers, "Emily, John, if you could send us your coordinates, we're only a few hundred miles away. Over." The movie ends.
Wait, can you repeat that at the end? Sorry, I was writing something down.
It's over.
So the ship turns on,
Yep.
and you hear through the speakers, "Emily, John, if you could send us your coordinates, we're only a few hundred miles away. Over." Movie ends.
Have you seen the film Life, perchance?
No.
You should watch it.
I think you actually just wrote it. It's not. It's not like one of the
Significantly
it
more
has
brutal and
it has a very
dark and
similar.
Like
it
Life
has
of
a very.
Pi?
No,
Yep,
no,
same
not
thing.
that.
The Game of Life?
It's a space
Closer.
movie, except for it's kind of the opposite. It's kind of like yours, but the opposite. It has the dark ending. I'm not gonna spoil it for you. You
yeah, I was
actually
gonna say,
might like
let's
that movie.
stop.
You actually might like the movie, but you'll see what I mean if you ever watch it. Hey, just like Gabe said that my story reeked of me and Gabe's story reeked of Gabe. If you read that one to me and told me to pick which one of us four wrote it, I would pick you 10 out of 10 times. That is a Tyler sci-fi movie.
Thanks. That's why I wrote it.
This dude wants that shit dark.
Yeah, you caught me off guard when you were like, and then
They're all
he
dead.
finds her and her skin is gone and they're peeling off his skin. I was like, everyone's skin is being peeled off.
Obviously, mine was a lot shorter in terms of what I've wrote, but obviously there would be a lot more like in-depth detail.
Building up to the building the horror, building the
like even like building up to getting to the planet and whatnot.
Yeah.
I kind of just jumped into that.
Yeah,
But,
yeah, yeah, yeah. No, that's dark. That's scary. That's like to me that would be one of those movies that would be absolutely a cult classic. Like there'd be a group of people that would just eat that shit up. Like it'd be like the new Alien kind of thing. People would
I
just
that's
love
what
that
I
kind of
think.
thing,
It sounded like Alien, but good.
but darker. Okay,
but
that'd be
good.
crazy.
Crazy.
Sorry, I'm a hater.
Alien, but good is wild.
Alien, but they actually like kill
Show
all the characters on
big and
screen.
dark and kill everybody and
Well, I mean, they kill most of the characters in those movies anyway, and then half of them aren't even on the camera.
true. No, that's just like the dark new version of Alien that would immediately have people that would be all over that shit. So it would probably be visually fucking awesome. It'd probably look amazing, and then I'm assuming it'd be a lot of practical effects, so it'd just be gory as fuck. Someone just getting skinned. So
Oh, yeah, I don't think I've ever seen that in a movie, actually. I'm not sure I want to.
Bone
Bone
Tomahawk,
Tomahawk. That's the movie that
He
Tyler.
gets scalped
Unfortunately,
and
Tyler, that
then
was the movie
pretty close.
that was the movie that
he
was reminding me
gets
of.
he gets scalped and then cut down the middle.
It's
It's
about
not
that's
skinned
probably
though.
almost worse than getting
Oh,
skinned. Okay.
it feels worse for
Oh well,
sure.
yeah, no shit. I'm
How
not
would you
comparing how
know?
they feel. Yeah, what?
Oh, I know.
Good.
We already established I'm the killer in the last movie.
True. Yeah, okay, we're gonna just move on.
All right,
Caleb's face.
Caleb, you're up.
Okay, well, I'm gonna do a
Those.
lot of talking, so if you have any more comments to add about anybody else's, then
We'll interrupt you.
Tyler,
take your truth.
You're Sam Raimi, by the way. You were
Yeah,
just a
actually,
dark movie where
I
you
could
just
see that
kill
being a
all the
Sam Raimi
characters
movie.
and yeah,
Like
Okay.
a space version of Evil Dead.
yeah, pretty much.
All right. I'm gonna give my reviews of yours first, and then I'm gonna do the
Bro's gonna have
awards.
like card like the Academy Award goes to.
Pretty
No
much.
cards.
So I have notes about all this. I put the actor, what they're
Holy.
doing, a little bit of some notes about them, and then just general plot notes about what happened. So
Did you hear that too?
what
We
happened?
might have an intruder in our house. Let me go check. You can keep talking.
Dude,
I
how
think
funny
they're-
would it be if he
Well,
died
I'm
on
talking
camera?
about Jax. I'm talking about Jax first, so I probably should wait, I
I'm
guess.
pretty sure it was our neighbors upstairs.
Let me just riff for a second. It's,
No,
Riff?
we're good.
I think it's
Okay.
our neighbors upstairs, Jack.
Yeah.
Jack?
Swinger be swung, they say.
Jack,
It's true.
he's in your closet.
Jack, there's something right behind you.
right
Oh,
behind
sorry.
you,
It's just your coat. It's just your coat.
Don't worry, guys.
Boop.
Okay.
Actually, I'm not going to bring that up.
All right.
I was going to say I have pocket knives to defend myself.
I
But
thought you were gonna pull out a gun.
we're going to
You're
get
up, pal.
demonetized.
You're up, pal.
Yeah, go
Okay,
Caleb.
so I'll do brief comments based since I'll talk more about them as I give out the awards. But Jack, yeah, all these are pretty what I expected from all of you guys. I think I as far as like general, I kind of was expecting you guys to go down similar paths. So I think that bodes well for the similarity test award I give out. Jack surprised me with the Pirates. I wasn't expecting to go to Pirates, quite honestly. Um, I really like how you set up Josh Brolin as your main character. I thought you were going to go for a villain role for him, actually. Like I know, that's kind of the perception you had mentioned. That's kind of the perception of Josh Brolin. So I thought you were going to go with that. Will Poulter, good addition. I didn't tell them that you could do additions, but I did allow this one. I like that you're adding him. I honestly think I would have casted somebody else. I like the character you wrote. I don't know if I love the casting. I think Will Poulter as like a young prodigy kind of feels weird at this point. Maybe it feels better like a decade ago. But like now it just kind of feels a little odd. Maybe I would just have to see it.
Can I throw something at you?
Go ahead.
When I was like
Riff.
writing it out in the long story, he and Monica Barbera were supposed to be love interests, and they're
I kind
about
of
the same
thought so.
age.
I mean,
They're about the
Roland?
same age. So that's kind of what I went with.
No, Poulter.
No, Poulter and Monica Barbera.
Oh,
They're about the
sorry.
same age. So I kind of went with that, but yes, I would agree with you. I think you could cast like honestly, you could cast like a no-name guy for that.
Yeah, that's
Nathan
fine.
James.
And then you added Patrick Wilson too, are we correct?
Yeah, he
Yes,
was
and
a kind of crazy pirate.
Yes, I did like that addition as well. I like the time it's set. It does feel very like you use some bits and pieces of Red Dead. We didn't mention that, but the parts of like the dying world in a way where it's like Red Dead was more like the end of pirate of like westerny. This is more like the end of piratry in a way. I was kind of getting similar vibes to that. I don't know what piratery.
Piracy.
I don't know, whatever.
Piracy.
Um,
Piracy.
Piracy. It's not a victimless crime.
whatever.
True.
The pros. I think you have a lot of arcs. I think you have a lot of motives. I think you have a lot of depth. I think you have a lot of twists. I think a lot of what your good is also serves as a lot of your bad, where I think there's too many twists. And I think there's too many things happening towards the end where it's like, I don't know where the hell this is at right now. So I think that kind of bogs you down a little bit. I like your use of fantasy. I like your use of monsters. I think that's cool. Your cursed swords, great. I wanted to see a little bit more mystery. I kind of feel like the mystery part of it was missing a little bit. I didn't really know how much mystery was in there.
Yeah, that's more of like the them. I I didn't get enough into that. That's kind of more of the letters and stuff and trying to
Yeah,
find the temple and whatnot. But I frankly I didn't know how to put a mystery into that.
that's fine.
I'm not a mystery writer.
Yeah, that's something I would have added as well. I liked your
Yeah.
flashback scene with Patrick Wilson being the young pirate. I actually thought it was going to be Brolin, so you caught me off guard there. That was probably your best twist. Um, and I like how it also kind of ties. You said something about a war becoming soon or coming soon with the English. I
A
kind of
holy
like
war.
that inclusion too.
Well, they were trying to get the wealth to fund the colonies to fight the
That's
Revolutionary
right.
War.
Yes, I liked that. That was a good
Uh,
addition. So, and then
And Paul Rudd was trying to start World War One.
yes. So, and then I put down Pirates of the Caribbean influence. That was the biggest one I was getting,
It's
obviously.
specifically Dead Man's Chest.
Yeah. All
The
right,
best part.
Gabe. That was yeah, that was yours. Gabe, I kind of
Thanks.
forgot. I
I
told us at
forgot
the
your
end.
movie.
No, I
What
read the whole
happened?
no,
thing.
no, 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 no. I forgot that Glenn Powell was cast because I think that you completely wrote him in a way that surprised me, and I think would be really interesting to see him do that kind of performance, which I think is both good and bad because it's like, well, I guess I couldn't really see Glenn Powell doing this, because I think it was probably just because of seven. I was seeing like a Brad Pitt, young Brad Pitt, which I suppose Glenn Powell could be in a way. It's not entirely, but I could see him going down a similar career path in a way. I like Kid Harington. I know I gave you Kid Harington because I knew you could give him something to work with, something. And I liked how he was the younger brother. That was a cool inclusion. Anne Hathaway didn't know. I kind of gave you an interesting cast. I really gave you like a mixed bag of cast members. Um,
I was a little shocked when I got Colin Firth.
you know
I
what?
was like, Kingsman.
No, I like that he was. I think
Yeah.
you did good with all that. I think I would have used Millie Alcock more. And I suppose it would have to be depending on how long the movie would be, seeing how much she's in the flashback stuff, what you can do with her. I would have loved to see her more. I think that's kind of as far as I would go with the cast. Were you gonna say something?
It was that or
Me?
her become a love interest for Simon, but I didn't want to write her off as this half-assed love interest that gets forgotten about. Instead, I feel like I read it. I might have not said it. I said something about it's shown through several flashbacks.
Yeah, that's I kind of
So
figured.
the goal
Yes.
is you do see a lot of
Okay.
flashbacks
That yeah.
once he starts, because like obviously I couldn't write the entire plot. So like the part where it says across a month or whatever, he starts looking into the cases more, and in between that he's going to sessions. Each session is probably talking about his family, and you're seeing
Yeah.
them with Millie Alcock
And,
and Kit.
and that's fair. That would just be my one of my
Yep,
questions
yep, yep, yep,
would
yep.
lie in. Um,
Valid.
I like what you have here. I mean, I actually got goosebumps when you revealed the twist. That was actually really sick. That really caught me off guard. I was really impressed with that.
Same.
Um, I think that you have an actual motive for Simon that makes sense. You have a motive for all these characters. They actually feel like real characters, which I think is we're literally just jotting down ideas, which is I'm not expecting fleshed out characters, but this actually felt very fleshed out. Um, and I like how that scene where they would be the phone call scene would actually be legendary, and that's exactly what I was hoping for. I think that'd be a really incredible scene. I had a lot of questions, but we actually talked about them afterwards. Like Tyler and Jack kind of asked them, so I got those worth. My question that I would probably ask is, how would you visualize these changes in the character? Like, how would you visualize his multiple personality disorder, which would be kind of challenging in a way, especially if it's a mystery behind like who's doing the murders. That would kind of be like a how would you do that? But
I think I would. One thing I thought about, and this is where I would draw some inspiration. Have you seen that every time the demon is in Hereditary, there's a little flicker of blue light?
I didn't know that.
Yeah, every time the demon
Okay.
is present in Hereditary, there's like a flicker of blue light
Yeah.
somewhere in the movie. I would use a different filter for the camera depending
Ah
on
ha
which
ha ha.
personality he has currently. So it'd be super
Slight.
small. You would have to know it. But when you go back, maybe one of them is a little bit got a blue tint to it. Maybe one of them's got
Okay.
like a yellow tint to it. To identify the blue tint would probably be what is shown as his main personality, this
Yeah.
blue that represents obviously sadness, the
Yeah.
isolation. And then maybe when things get darker, it becomes more of like a gray, more of like the blue is just gone. And that's kind of how I'd represent it. And then I'd be asking a lot of Glenn Powell. I would need a lot of physical acting, a lot of the face changing, looking
Yeah.
like a different person. That's tough. We've seen Oscar Isaac do it in Moon Knight, like Jack mentioned. So that's a big ask. It's all I had. I trust
I don't
him
blame you.
more than Kit Harington, is kind of
I
what I ended up
agree.
playing on. Yes,
I,
sir.
I think something else you could do is like towards the end when you start figuring when like I can't remember what movie does this, but there's a movie where um when you figure out like all this is happening with two different personalities,
Hmm.
they like do like these flashbacks and you see you don't
you
you
see it
see
happening
him.
from that perspective.
Yes, and then it carries over into the original shot,
Yeah.
but maybe from a different like perspective.
Dude,
My thought on that was that first scene right before that kind of does all of that when he's having the realization that all of his dreams have been the murders. That's
Mhm.
kind of when you would see it going back and forth. But like I like what you're mentioning as well. That does feel like it would be cool. Something else I was thinking as well is the voice. His voice is just different. I mentioned that in the
Yeah.
writing as well. Not like as bad as like full on like Green Goblin where it sounds like he's almost like exaggerating it. It would just be enough to where the
too
main
weak.
version of Simon, the main version of Simon always sounds like just kind of monotone and almost afraid, whereas this other version is very like very
Mhm.
intense, very thought out. He's thought everything through. He's planned all of this, and now he's kind of your ultimate villain monologue is that the biggest shot of the movie is like we mentioned that final phone call, and it's when you're going from seeing him so panicked talking to the doctor and then switching to her perspective and then hearing him get super serious. You're not seeing it, you're hearing it, and you're relying on Glenn to absolutely cook here and the voice change, and that's when you get the whole Icarus
Yeah,
monologue.
I can literally see the scene, the camera moving
Yes,
around, and it
yes,
switches to a cut to them
yes.
and to her.
I
I
would
can
literally
totally
use a
see
cut
that.
where like it goes into a wall and then it comes back to the other side of
100%.
the wall, which is now in her office and it's her. And the other side of it is in that scene, you never see him as the murderer because when it cuts back, he's back to normal and he's like sad. The only time you see him as the murderer is the last shot of the movie where I said he's got a disgruntled look on his face. That's the only time you would really see him physically look different because the phone call you're just hearing him. My goal is to hide that look until the very end and display it, and you see he's still got problems.
Or the reveal could be like the Humpty Dumpty
Or
reveal in Puss in Boots when he is actually there the whole time and he's in the cat suit.
yeah, so it's Tyler's turn.
Here's what I'm gonna say. Here's what I'm gonna say about Tyler's suggestion. I actually I don't love that for this movie, showing how it happened to this point. That's
Mhm.
kind of more like a what's the one magic movie we watched with Hugh Jackman?
Magic
Prestige.
Mike.
The Prestige, where it kind of shows you in a way. I
That might be
like
the movie I'm thinking
I
of.
like more of a hereditary approach where or Fight Club where you rewatch it and you pick up on those clues over time. I would prefer that for that kind of
There
Fight
would
movie.
Club.
be there would be way more clues as well. Like I mentioned, for example, the door being unlocked. There would
Yeah,
be way
that's
more
what I was thinking
clues
of.
throughout the movie of things that showed that only he could have done. Only
Yeah.
someone, for example, no one else could have gotten into his house the way they did. I was gonna have more of like I mentioned the fireplace iron. I was gonna have him like find like things in his garage or in his house
Mm,
that were similar, just very small things, and then use and in those moments when he's having that weird panic of setting in, the filter changes to kind of signify something's wrong. And then at the very end, the final filter is showing you that that's signifying the
yeah.
personality that did it all.
All right. Well, Tyler, you're up. So
You're done, buddy.
I was expecting you to go kind of body horror, and I'm glad you did because I think this would work. This would bode well as kind of at least I'm interpreting it as a body horror kind of movie.
Well,
Um,
someone
I
gets
mean, ripping
skinned,
off
so
skin and eating people alive is
well,
pretty body horror,
yes,
but
I
you
guess
know,
I was more thinking of like the Christian Bale, like alien body horror kind of stuff. Body dysmorphia kind of is what I usually think of
yeah.
for body, but like yeah, it's definitely yes, I agree. It's
it's body
gruesome.
horror.
Bro
I
wants
like.
Christian Bale to not eat anything for like
I
three
like the
months.
premise. I like the going to space thing. I like how you use it's I kind of also gave you a wide variety of like what you could do with each of these. And I'm glad you did go Bale as the villain. I love Bale as a villain. We haven't seen him enough as a villain, and I like that you did that kind of as an alien too, in a way. That's kind of good. That's kind of interesting. I'd be curious to see how you can incorporate like the four of the astronauts as like a family or like friends beforehand to
Fantastic
go
Four?
into
Sorry.
I
space.
thought about it. The problem is I didn't want to go too much into like the
That's fine.
Fantastic Four route.
Yeah,
That's
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 true.
kind of what I was like. Okay, this is like very similar to like, you know, 4 people. Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't even think about
But
that.
like I definitely thought of like Caleb being the boyfriend to Margaret, and I definitely thought of Margaret being the daughter of John and Emily. But at the end of the day, I kind of just didn't go that route, but I definitely could have.
Yeah, and that's
I'm glad you didn't since they left her ass.
Yeah. That because that definitely gave me a good way to show how this world works,
Yeah.
yeah.
at least in my
Yes, it
opinion.
did.
So I think that's fair. I'd be interested to mess around with how you would start the movie introducing all the characters, especially in a horror movie where you don't really want to overstay your welcome to. It's kind of a iffy place to be in.
We would definitely I definitely jumped into it when
Which
I
is fine,
but
but you
we would definitely start on Earth. It would definitely show
yeah
you how bad it is, and we'll show the build up to them leaving. And then when they initially take off, you'll get them doing astronaut stuff, and then it'll
yeah.
probably like fast forward a little bit, and then they'll get there
It
because
kind of feels like oh sorry, what?
we don't want them in the ship the entire time.
That's
Because
right.
so this planet is actually like real. It's a and it's like 2.7 light years away or something like that. So it's yeah.
That's pretty far.
Are the Skinner people real?
It's sci-fi.
Yes. Yes.
They
Yes.
are.
Tyler,
Okay,
can I ask
cool.
a question, Tyler?
No.
Okay, go on.
Yeah. Yes.
What was the thought process behind choosing a planet that's just like Earth instead of a super unique, different planet?
So I was initially going to go Mars, but I thought that was going to be very boring
Martian.
and bland. Yes. The reason why I went with a world similar to Earth is because I wanted the sense of comfort from
That's
these
exactly what I was gonna
astronauts.
say.
And when they get there, they're like, "Holy
Oh, it's
shit, this
perfect.
is it!"
Huh?
But they
This is the
realize
place.
I didn't say it in my writing, but I kind of hinted at it when I gave you the time. This world only has like 4 hours of daytime, so that's the sense of difference, the major difference between this. Plus, this planet in real life is like 4 times bigger than Earth, so yeah.
No, I like the idea of making like a false sense of security for the audience. I think that's a great idea.
Thank you.
You ever do that?
Thanks.
Yeah, I like that.
What do you mean? Thank you.
He answered my question.
I think
Oh.
there's a lot of horror elements that I think would work. I think it depends on the cinematography of it all, which obviously, but I like the forest aspect always is going to be scary too, especially with an alien Christian Bale, which would be horrifying, and then little
Yeah,
kids
I would
running
have
around.
Mike Flanagan directing this, and I don't know if you guys haven't seen Haunting of Hill House, but he does a lot of like
In plain sight horror.
yes, where like he'll place stuff in the background and you'll see and
That
you'll be like,
kind of horror.
"Oh." Yeah, I'll do a lot
Not
of
enough,
that.
not enough directors do that, by the way.
Yeah.
It's like easily one of the
It's
best kinds
yeah.
of horror,
It's the
and
best
no
thing you can
one.
do
Mhm.
It
Yeah.
probably is
Definitely
low-key the
implements a lot
best
of
thing you
that.
can do. It's so
because you let
uneasy.
people scare themselves.
And then you bring the camera back, and then they're not there, and you're like,
Yeah,
All right, bro.
you could even do the guy that
Not
did
cool.
Smile to do it. I the guy Parker Finn. I think you could even have Parker
Yeah,
Finn
Parker
do
Finn.
be at least you could have Flanagan write it, have Finn direct it. I don't know, but that would be a cool combo. Yeah, I like
Yeah.
that. Sorry, and I was just gonna say I like the twist ending too,
Tyler,
or twist.
can I help?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, did Matt help make it?
Wait, help with what? Making it?
He's
Yeah.
gonna make it.
Yeah, sure, win it.
Okay.
Can
All
I
right.
be
No.
one of the
Yeah, I'm
children?
glad you like the twist ending, Caleb. I was afraid because everybody dying, I was afraid that was going to be a negative with your and the fact that people just randomly showed up
He's
towards the
calling
end.
you a pansy.
No, not him. I was just a lot of people don't like when everybody dies or it sets
Test
up
audiences.
some
Well, that's the thing. You don't want horror
cliche
movies always do that thing where they just
setup.
don't actually end the story. It just always keeps
Mhm.
going. That is
Yeah.
true. I think it kind of works for this, especially if you did make a
Gabe would be
sequel.
pissed.
Mhm.
I would not be pissed. He ended it.
Depending if it was an
No,
atmospheric
because the
story
people are
too.
gonna. The rest of humanity's coming.
Well, I definitely could set up for a second one, or I could just not make another
Okay,
one.
Okay, yeah, true. I guess I kind of
The rest of
misinterpreted
humanity's coming. They're
Yeah.
I interpreted it more as like
Well,
more
yeah.
like the tragedy of the fact that they couldn't save them, kind of thing. I didn't really think about it much of them
I mean, there's definitely
growing up.
many perspectives you could take on
That's
this.
true. Boo!
the American military is killing the Christian
I mean,
Bale alien. Let's
in
be
my
real.
opinion, if I were
Yeah.
making this movie, I wouldn't have made a second one because I think I would have made it clear by killing everybody in the first one, that these new people that are showing up are
Aren't
also
gonna live
not
either.
going to survive due to
Wouldn't
the
it just
same
be an endless
circumstances.
cycle then?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
but like that's why I wouldn't make the second one because it's like
Smile 2 moment.
no, it's not too better.
Mile 2's good.
Yeah, better than one.
Nope, stop.
Okay. Let me get to the awards. Okay, so I added a new one so everyone could have 3 because I realized we had 3, 3, and 2. So
Okay.
I felt bad.
You
All
felt
about
bad.
equality
Yes.
over here.
Don't tell us what the ninth one was,
Okay,
because
I
then
won't.
we all
I
know it's a
won't.
participation
I
award.
won't tell you then. I even put
I'll
it.
tell you exactly what one
I
it
didn't
is.
even put it towards the end. So
It's titled Participation Award.
We're gonna guess it.
okay. Well,
Jack, you've got
The
2
award for
participation
the
awards.
award for the best effort.
okay.
Wow, that'd be a rough one.
Best use of actors. So,
There's
Tyler,
no chance I
I
win
wanted
this.
a little bit more from yours. Gabe, I did like it, but I gave you a tough task. I am actually giving Jack the Actors Award
Yeah!
because I like what
I
he
should have
added,
talked myself out of
and
it.
I like Brolin and Marston.
Crazy, bro. Added 2 actors and won the best actors award.
He cheated.
That's insane.
Paul Rudd is a
I did it.
pirate?
I did
That
it
is
last
so
time.
bad.
But
There
they're
was a
merchants.
precedence.
Ooh,
There was a precedent. I did it last time.
of the United States.
Also, Paul Rudd being the villain, no one sees that coming.
Yeah, which is why it's bad.
I frankly think he'd be a terrible villain.
Yeah, but go on.
Shall I?
He's mean.
He's way too much of a comedic guy for
You
him to
never
be.
see it coming.
Yeah, exactly. I could never see him as a villain.
Have you seen him in Halloween? He's terrible, and he plays a very.
He's in
He's not a
Halloween.
villain.
No, I
He's not a-
haven't watched Halloween 5, and he's like 20 in that movie. He's a
not
better
he's
actor
not a villain
now.
in that movie, but he tries to play this non-comedic character, and it's awful.
That was like his first movie ever.
Let's move on to the next
Can we
one.
be nice?
Okay, your best use of genre. I'm gonna give it to Tyler.
I actually agree with that.
Most
That's true. I
creative.
literally squandered my genre.
Most creative. I am gonna go to Gabe for this one. I like all the
Boo.
creative twists. I think that what you did with the drama and action turned it into a psychological thriller action drama.
Gabe did do
Was-
an entire detective psychological thriller. with-
I did like that a lot.
I would have been there day one.
Tyler, when I was writing this, I was like, Tyler would eat this shit up.
Oh, I would love. Yeah. Best premise. I liked Jack's premise. I think Jack's premise for everything was good. I think that he added, he set it up nicely. I think that, like I said, in my summary viewers, that it kind of got jumbled towards the end, and that's kind of what derailed it a little bit.
We're just giving out awards now.
That's
terrible
literally what he's
attention
doing.
span.
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
Hey, by the way, if you play Black Flag, you'll know exactly what I was doing at the end of the movie, because it's very similar to that game.
Derailing? I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
What'd you say? Derailing?
Derailing? I'm kidding.
I
Okay.
mean, it is jarring in the game. You're like, oh, I thought we were just pirates, and now it's like whole world order stuff. It's insane.
Your plot award goes to Gabe. I think that was the best plot.
I suppose.
Yeah, I'm inclined to agree with that.
Best ending. I'm actually gonna give it to Tyler. Gabe, I like the setup to your ending the best. If I could give a falling action award, I'll give you that.
I actually despised my ending. I really struggled with how to land the plane, and I realized I had already typed too much, so I was like,
Well, that's why I liked your falling action the best, and Tyler
Yeah,
gets the ending
I
award.
put the most time into the falling action.
I actually wrote my ending on the pod, so
Okay, great.
You went first.
I know.
Did you not see him? He was literally
I
typing
was
on his
in,
phone.
yeah,
with
I
him.
was.
Oh,
I'm
hell
really-
That's why I smiled.
You know what?
You'll
I'm
see
glad
me
Tyler
smile.
won.
But you'll see me smile when Caleb goes, and of course I'm picking Jack first. I'm just like, I was literally in
Bro,
the
it's the
middle of
speed
writing
game.
it.
Bro was actually typing while he was reading it off.
Okay, my similarity test movie, I think that lined up the most with what I was expecting. Tyler. I was expecting a body horror type of movie from Tyler, so that's kind of what happened for that.
I assumed that you were expecting something a little whimsical out of me, and I was like, I don't know what to do with fantasy, so we're pirates.
Whimsical. I mean, I was, but
Well, that's what fantasy is.
true. I don't know. I was thinking more wizards, and you went pirates. That's
That's
probably just
what
my
I
own
was
personal
assuming.
bias.
Wizards of Waverly Place.
You were
I
probably
may or-
thinking medieval or Harry Potter or some
I
shit.
may or may
and
not have when I heard what Jax was, I wrote down a premise for if I was to do Jax because I
It was
wanted to
wizards.
use it
Like,
for
I could've
soaring
cooked here.
class. I'm going to use it for my class.
Nice. You should use this for your class too.
Creative writing.
My other adoption award, which is like anything besides a movie, I'm giving this to Jack for a TV show. I'm turning Jackson into a TV show.
Oh my
That
gosh,
makes
the
sense
budget's gonna get cut.
That makes sense because there was so much shit.
Damn it!
You
There
better hope
was-
Disney Plus doesn't do it.
No,
was-
not Disney Plus. Anything
Oh,
else?
I'm thinking.
Yes,
let's
Disney
see, I'm
Plus.
thinking.
No,
I'm
no, no,
thinking,
no, no.
Episodes.
Let me think.
30
No, no, no.
minutes
No, I
each.
think Netflix is picking this up. I'm
No.
thinking Netflix.
No, that's a 50-50. There's a 50-50
There's a
shot.
50-50
You have
there.
Netflix, you have what?
Keep the
You have
Duffer
Stranger
Brothers
Things,
away
you have
from me.
Outer Banks, you have it's a 50-50 shot.
If the Duffer Brothers sniff this project, I don't know what I'm gonna do. Crying.
I mean, they made 4 great seasons of television.
3.
And
Oh, that's true. If I write it, we'll be fine.
pretty much your main prize winner here, movie I would adapt into a film, which is the end goal here. I'm giving to Gabe here. I got to see that on the big screen.
The big screen.
Don't worry. I'll
But
do
yeah,
it.
well, I would see mine on IMAX. The bigger screen.
Nice.
IMAX is the big screen, buddy.
No. See, we're seeing Gabe's at Cinemark in
All right, buddy.
non-XD.
I have not seen someone get skinned in IMAX, Tyler.
Yeah, that's right.
Apparently, we're watching mine on our phones on Netflix. so.
Watching it on our computers in the middle of class.
Gosh, mine's getting
All right.
pirated.
With subtitles.
There's your thumbnail, Tyler.
Change the title to pirated.
Yo.
It's like hoodwinked.
Oh
Exactly
my.
what it is. Oh man, that's good.
Well,
stuff.
I have nothing else, so
All right.
Well, Caleb, good job coming up with cast and genres and everything in between. I'm sure we'll return to this at some point, so everyone gets a shot. Tyler,
I'm
can
retiring from
genres
screenwriting.
next or something. Okay, I guess
you
Jack,
literally won last time, Jack.
genres. And
No, I'm retiring to pursue acting.
Oh, okay.
We're cooked.
I want to roll in Gabe's film,
You're just gonna get killed.
and I want to get skinned alive in Tyler's movie.
You can be
You're
the
gonna be-
you
yeah,
can be
you're
the
gonna be the
cousin
guy-
of
You're gonna be the
Pearson
guy that
Simon.
dies.
The cousin, the one that's literally just there for 3 seconds. Hey guys, get off.
Hey, you gotta start somewhere.
You do have to start somewhere. All right. Well, if you guys enjoyed this concept, let us know. We will very likely, like I mentioned, be returning to this in the future. Let us know if Tyler should be giving out the people or if Jack should be. Which one should be doing it next? Which one of them should hand it out now? Even though Jack says he'd retire, we'll just force him to do it again, and he'll do it anyways because he gets super into this, whether he admits it or not.
Yeah, I get the idea, and we start writing, and then suddenly I have 25 paragraphs of lore.
Precisely. Yeah, but thank you guys for listening. Caleb, good job. Everyone give Caleb a round of applause. All right. Well, thank you
Slow
guys.
clap.
Thank you guys for listening, and we will catch you guys next time.